Wow. You know, I want to thank Alan so much. We go back a long ways, and I used to be able to come to your meetings. Of course, that was when they were over in the old Time Warner building. And then I think you were at the college, actually, the temporary college for a few meetings. And then when I was on the college board, elected to the college board, our meetings conflict. In fact, tonight I was over at COC and had to rush to get over here because I wanted to be here tonight to talk about something else. But I do see some familiar faces, and I want to thank those of you that do so much for Canyon Country. I've lived in Canyon Country for over 40 years, raised my family here, and our children went through the schools and on to college and marriage and so forth, and our grandchildren, some of our grandchildren have attended the schools in Canyon Country, all of them graduates of Canyon High School. But I'm here to talk to you tonight about the elementary district, and that's Sulphur Springs Elementary District. I started out as a PTA president at Mitchell School and got involved. I, like you, are activist. I'm interested in what's going on, went to board meetings and said, oh my goodness, this board doesn't really know what's going on in the schools. So when the first opening came, I said, I'd like to be a school board member. That was, well, do I really need to give my age? But that was almost 40 years ago. I served on the Sulphur Springs board for 20 years. That's the elementary school board. Was elected to that position, fortunately, by you numerous times. Well, maybe not you. You're probably all younger than I am. But anyway, and then I was asked to run for the COC board, College of the Canyons, and I can't believe it. I've been on that board for 18 years. So I know I'm the longest serving elected official in Santa Clarita. But enough about me. I want to talk to you more about the schools, the elementary schools, Sulphur Springs Elementary Schools. All 9 of those elementary schools are California Distinguished Schools. We have a great elementary school district in this valley, and it's Sulphur Springs District. You don't hear a lot about them in the rest of the valley, and that's because they're doing their job and they're doing it well. They have a financial budget that is the best it can possibly be in these dire circumstances. And 22 years ago, I worked on a bond. It was one of my last years in that district as a trustee. And I worked on a school bond, which the voters of Canyon Country approved. And that bond is running out. It will be depleted in about 4 years, and it would go off your tax bill. And then you would not be paying anything for your elementary schools on your property tax bill. What this bond measures CK, and you'll be hearing more about it. We just got the letter designation last week. What Measure CK is going to do is basically propose to assess $30 per every 100,000 of assessment. So if you own a $300,000 house, and I know everybody's values have gone down just like mine, you'd be paying $90. Okay? If you own a $200,000 condo, you'd be paying $60 a year for your elementary schools. That's a small price to pay for what they do and what they have done. I know my children have received their education, my grandchildren have received their education in the public schools in Canyon Country. Now, all the other districts in this valley have approved numerous bonds, some of them 2 and 3 bonds during this period of time. Sulphur Springs has never gone back to the voters and said, we need a bond, we need your help. They are now, and they're going to be on the June 5th ballot. It's a $72 million bond. It has numerous projects that they're going to be doing, and I'm going to be asking Dr. Kerry Clegg, who's on the Board of Trustees and has been on, actually when I left, I was able to serve with him before I left. He's going to be sharing with you some of the actual expenditures that will be expended during the life of this bond. I would really ask you to get the information. We have some packets in the back you're welcome to take. I hope many of you here, because I know many of you, will endorse this bond. I hope some of you may come to our headquarters. I'm the co-chair of this, and you probably say, what are you doing, you know? I feel strongly about public education. I don't get paid. I'm an elected official with a small stipend that doesn't cover my gas to go back and forth to the college. But I feel so strongly about public education, and I feel we have a wonderful system here. In my real life, as a professional, I own a real estate company, and I will tell you that the #1 reason people move to Santa Clarita is the schools, the quality of the educational system. And I take that all the way through to the college, the COC. We have good schools. They're ranked very high in the state, in the top 10% in most cases in the state of California. And so I just can't tell you how important it is to volunteer. Give your time, if you can, give some money. That's helpful too. But I'm not asking for that tonight. What I'm asking for you to do is ask the questions, be informed, share the information, and get out and vote. It is the June 5th ballot. It is yes on Measure CK. And as I say, we have some materials in the back. And I'd like to introduce Dr. Carrie Clegg, who is a trustee presently serving on that board, to come up. And I'm going to ask, before Carrie gets started and tell you some of the projects, I just want to tell you that as part of my volunteer, I just went up to Sacramento. I was on a bus that left at 7 in the morning, Monday morning, and came back at 11 o'clock last night. And I donated my time, just as the other 70 or 80 people did of this community, to go on that bus trip to Sacramento. We met with the governor. We met with many legislators. We had an opportunity to tell them of the problems from schools, water, redevelopment, all of the problems that are facing us. It's a mess up there. It is a mess. And education is receiving severe cuts. And at this point, you're going to start to see it. You're going to see it in the classroom sizes. You're going to see it in the lack of many of the special programs, music, arts, physical education in some cases. And it is a real concern. It's a passionate for me because programs that I helped see start 40 years ago are being torn apart. Good programs that have educated my children, my grandchildren, and I'm sure yours. So again, I will ask you to vote for this, and then once Carrie's finished, we'll be happy to answer and field questions. So thank you so much, Alan, and the committee for putting us on the agenda at the last minute. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Joan. And I was on the bus with her. We just got back, so it was a very productive meeting. We did spend a lot of time talking about the issues in Santa Clarita, and particularly in our school districts. But what I'd like to do is spend a little bit of time telling you what the purpose of the bond is for and what the purpose of the bond is not. This is a general obligation bond. It's particularly set up by Prop 39. It requires a 55% majority vote of the population. And for that, for the lowering of that vote, there are certain requirements that the bond has to have. One of those is that there will be a Citizens Oversight Committee that will be appointed, and that Citizens Oversight Committee will, in fact, oversee to make sure that the expenditures are exactly what was advertised for the bond. And that's very important in that particular aspect. The other thing the Prop 39 bond does is it sets a specific and exact limit on how much the cost of this bond can be. And as Joan said, the cost of this bond will be about $30 per $100,000 of assessed valuation, and by law and by statute, it will not go above $30 per $100,000 of assessed valuation for the life of the bond. So your taxes will not go up over the time period of that bond. And in fact, considering that most of us right now are paying about $90 to $100 per $100,000 of assessed valuation in Canyon Country, your taxes would go down by 2/3 to carry on the work that we've been doing with this. We have already set specific projects that we would like to accomplish in this. One of the major projects that we would like to do is to completely renovate and rebuild, actually demolish and rebuild the special education center that serves our severe handicapped children at Valley View School. That building is over 40 years. It has movable walls that are only 2 inches thick. We've remodeled it as many times as we can, and it is in need of a dire replacement. So that's one of the first projects that would be accomplished would be to rebuild that building as a permanent facility. As well, Valley View, since it hasn't been renovated for a considerable amount of time, would also have all of the portable buildings removed and permanent classroom space built. So we are looking at the projects to be construction projects. So as a benefit of that, our region will have construction projects and employment to do those particular projects, which I think is going to be important to some of the economic recovery that we're trying to get going on. The construction industry is important. All of our school sites, all 9 of our school sites have modernization and remodeling that needs to take place. For example, Pine Tree School, which is where my kids, I had 5 kids that went through this elementary school district, and they all went to Pine Tree School. Pine Tree School just opened when we moved into this area in 1988. And at that time, it was a wonderful school, but it was also the first and the longest-serving multi-track year-round elementary school in this valley because the population there was so large in order to meet that. And that all it did was cause the school to get beat up even faster than normal. And so it is in need of new roofing, new classroom space, removing portables, and some renovations, all of which would improve the property values of the houses around there. Because one of the important things with any renovation project at school sites is the first thing that people moving into our area ask is, what kind of schools do you have? How old are they? How well are they doing in terms of state tests? Almost every one of our schools are above 800 in the school accountability program. All of our schools have received distinguished school designation. One of them, Mint Canyon, right up the road, is actually a National Blue Ribbon School for the programs that we have implemented there. So anything we do to improve the appearance of those schools and to improve the learning environment and the work environment for our staff is going to improve the property values of the houses around it. So we have a lot of projects that are set. One thing that the bond money cannot be used for, it cannot be used for salaries. It is not going to go to teacher salaries. It cannot go to administrator salaries. It can only go for construction, renovation, remodeling, and repairs of the existing facilities or to build new facilities. And as well, because it's a Prop 39 bond, the one other thing that's very important is that it can go to improving, upgrading, and purchasing new technology for the schools. Sulphur Springs has prided itself on being one of the most technologically advanced school districts in this valley. We were the first school district in LA County, in fact, to be completely networked from school site to school site. We were one of the first ones to be completely internet capable. We have computer labs at every one of our school sites, but as any of you know, technology is moving faster than you can purchase it. And so part of the proceeds of this bond will allow us to completely bring technology to par at every school site, to bring teaching school smart boards and other technology into every classroom in our district so that all of our students have the same opportunities to learn and to benefit from it. And I think all of you would agree that the education of our kids and making them 21st century learning capable is what's going to move the economy in the future and provide jobs for your children and your grandchildren as we move forward. So that's sort of what we're trying to do. So I hope you, as Joan said, support the bond and help us pass it in this thing, because we have not come to you in over 22 years for bond money for this purpose.
Thanks, Carrie. Sure. I just want to introduce a couple of other people that I see that are here. I have my co-chair who's here, Roxanne Jepson. Roxanne is the co-chair, and she is the PTA president at Golden. I'm sorry, Golden Oaks. Thank you. Great parent and great involvement, and she's the co-chair of this event. We have 2 principals with us: Lynn David from Canyon Springs, is it David, and principal from Pine Tree, one of the schools that's really going to get help, Marie Stump. I'm sorry, Fair Oaks Ranch. I'm sorry, Marie. We've had so many principals involved with this, and all the principals have supported it so on their own time, as they are here tonight, so we're really pleased to have them. I just wanted, in closing, too, and then we'll open it up for any questions, to say to you that it's really hard if you're a senior, and I am. Hate to admit that, but I am. And you may say as a senior, well, I don't have any kids in the school. It's not important to me. Property values are important to all of us, and we want to see them start to go back up again. We've all lost a great deal of our wealth from the property values declining. And as I say again, one of the reasons for that is the quality of the educational system in Santa Clarita. So that's a good, important point. I think, again, Canyon Country has good schools. We need to be on a par with the rest of the valley. We need to keep that up. And since they've all passed the bonds, and we haven't for all these years, we need some catch-up. So I thank you again, and happy to answer any questions. Carrie, too. Sure. Gwen, Hugo.
Joan Whaley.
She remembers me from... I've been married 26 years to my present husband. He's going to get mad when he hears that. No.
Am I correct in understanding that the present bond runs out in 4
Yes.
And CK would start,
At that,
so there would be a time after that?
yes, no, at the end of that bond. When that bond expires, then seek it.
But it would not go into effect till the current one runs out.
Exactly.
The payments on the bond wouldn't, the taxes would not change until the other one expires, which is in 2017. So,
2017.
So, we'll be paying up the remaining of portion of the one that was passed in 1990, and then this one, the new payments would drop, and it would start in 2017. From that point on, it would be $30 per 100,000.
So your taxes will actually drop in 2017 from what you're paying now. Any other questions or anything we can answer?
Yes, I was
Sorry.
going through some old information and about a bond that you wanted to do a couple years ago. And maybe it was a year ago, but I know that in this informational thing it said, well, you finally decided not to because the time wasn't right. So now, because of the economy, well, now it isn't much better. I'm just wondering if this is the right time.
Sure. It wasn't a bond. It was a parcel tax, a different type of school finance or public financing. Parcel tax is a different type of measure. They have not gone out for a bond. They did a survey regarding a parcel tax, and that's probably the information. It was about a year and a half ago? About a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was a parcel tax. This is different. This is a bond under Prop 39, so a different mechanism. The time right now, obviously, the economy we know, but again, in 4 years from now, we all hope, that the economy is going to be much stronger. We're going to see relief. We're going to see things, people are going to have the employment that they need. The housing market is going to correct itself. So 4 years from now is when this change would occur. We need your vote now, and then in 4 years it will change, and your taxes will go down. Your taxes are dropped by 2/3 for the elementary school section. So we're just asking for some support for this school district that has educated our children in Canyon Country for all these years. I'll let you answer.
If you discount everything else you said and start out with, your taxes can be lowered by 60%. I think that's the biggest selling feature. Nobody wants to pay nothing. But
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We need you on the committee. You want to come volunteer? Thank you.
But just in fairness, since it's based on the assessed value, if our assessments, we all hope, go way up and our property values increase, then it could be more than what we're currently
it's
paying.
based on 30, not 90.
Yeah, it's going to drop no matter what. And, as a realtor, I will tell you that property values are not going to jump up immediately, unfortunately. It's going to take us even more time to get totally out. We want to just bottom out, and I think we're reaching that level now. As soon as the hidden market of foreclosures and so forth clears the market, then we should be able to start, because people want to move here. This is an ideal community, Santa Clarita, for a variety of reasons, education being one of those. But I agree with you that if you've lowered your valuation, some people have not taken advantage of that. But if you have lowered your assessed valuation, you need to file for that. But anyway, if you have done that, when the values start going up, but in turn, you have that value, which I think many of us had counted on for many years and dropped and plummeted. But at this point, you will not be paying over that amount, and it will be less. Your taxes are going to drop in 2017 because this bond is going off. This old bond is dropping away. And what we're asking for you to do is, in effect, to come back and pay $30 per $100,000. It's a good bond. It's well thought out.
Because interest rates are very low right now, so bonds are being financed at reasonable rates and for a long period of time.
My children, they're not children anymore. My children went to Hamby, Canyon Springs Elementary School. I'm very interested in making sure that the school system is the best it can be. At the same time, I think it's fair to ask this question. The one thing that you didn't talk about was finances. This is a 50-year bond. It's a deferred payment bond. So you're going to borrow the money before you start paying it back. And I'm worried, I'm concerned, that if we do this, the the changes that you implement, the money that you spend, the upgrades that you do are not going to last 50 years. The technology upgrades will be lucky if they last 3. And what are you going to do after you can't borrow any more money?
Do you want me to? Sure. I'll answer some of it, and then Carrie probably has some things to add. First of all, it's a 30-year bond. It's not a 50-year bond, but it's a 30-year bond, and it's $72 million. I know on some piece of paper somewhere I saw 73. It's not. It's $72 million. That's the first couple of things. Just not that a million here or there. Well, it's important. $1 million can do a lot in public schools. It can buy a lot. But getting back, obviously there is concern as far as what's going to happen with this money as far as interest. And I equate it, the simplest way for me to equate bond financing is basically like a mortgage. You buy your house, you live in your house immediately. You don't have to wait 30 years till you pay off the mortgage on your house to move in it. So what this is going to do is allow the district to make those improvements, to make those changes that are necessary now, so that students can benefit from those, just as the former residents, and many of you, I'm sure, as I did, voted for those bonds 22 years ago. We've seen the benefits, one of which was to buy Canyon Springs School, totally renovate it, and it was. And that was part of that bond, I remember. And we also did many other schools at that time. But that is an issue. Now, if you're thinking of maintenance, for instance, painting and things like that, that's not part of this bond. This bond is for major construction, major renovation. In the areas of technology, there will be things that will last longer than 3 years. And I know what you mean. It does move fast. Believe me, we know that at the college. But on the other hand, these kinds of repairs are going to last much longer. The second thing is, it's not all going to be taken out at once. It's $72 million. Maybe they'll take out after 5 years. They'll withdraw $30 million, and then they'll withdraw another 25, maybe 5 years later, and another. So you're not even going to be paying interest on that portion of the bond that's not been issued yet. So that's one aspect of it. For instance, the college, and as you know, we thank you again for voting for our bond, Measure M, that has helped us to build this wonderful, and Measure C, this campus up the street here, our Canyon Country campus, which I think has added a great deal to the community of Canyon Country. But that, just the other night at our board meeting, we issued another $35 million of that original bond, so which was 5 years ago that was passed. So what I'm saying is it's not issued all at once. So that's a help. But again, I'll let Carrie add points too.
Well, I was going to make that point about it, about the not taking it all out. It's a $72 million authorization. But the way Prop 39 bonds work and the way the LA County tax assessor works it is that no school district can ever withdraw or sell more bonds than the current level of property tax assessment can pay back in that period of time based upon the $30 per $100,000 of assessed valuation. So we might, initially we're going to be able to pull out probably $25 million in the first issuance, which would be all that we would be paying on eventually to pay off. And then maybe 5 or 10 years from now we would find out if we could draw out another $20 million or so to continue with upgrades. If at that time the assessed valuation of our area, which is not just based upon reassessing of your own property, but if property was sold, if new houses were built, and those things were added to it, if they could not support the increased bonds, the county will not allow us to sell them. So we would never go into debt more than what the $30 would be able to pay off, which is a protection for all of the taxpayers in the area. Let me address a little bit about the technology part of it because it gets a little more complicated than that. What the plan is really with the technology portion and what the bonds allow us to do is actually take a portion, maybe $4 or $5 million, and set it aside in an interest building account. And it is the interest that is going to be constantly being generated, which is going to be used on an ongoing basis to continually renew and upgrade the technology in our schools. So one of the first things we do is bring everybody up to par in all of our school sites and expend that. But over a few years, we would again have another pool of money, and if the technology had changed again, we would be able to add to that and continue to upgrade it. So it's not just a one-time expenditure this year that would die in 4 or 5 years and wouldn't last the purpose. The whole idea with the technology is to generate a fund that would allow us to continually roll over and continually upgrade technology as things change and keep things up to as much as possible. So it would be an ongoing fund that would do that, not just a one-time expenditure and that would run out of time.
So, yeah, correct me if I'm wrong from what I heard. Is it that each loan increment is a 30-year payback?
No.
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 The overall payback is 30 years?
It can be, and it can be a little bit, it can be longer. It can be a longer bond if, in fact, the district chooses not to issue those bonds for a period of time, meaning, it depends on what they pull out, but they want to get those things done soon. So I would think within the first 10 years, it'll be dead. The bond will be, as far as expended, it probably will not go out the 30 years. As far as the expenditures, you're paying interest on it, though, during that time.
We still can't issue the full amount of the bond if the tax base in our area cannot pay it back with the $30 per $100,000.
This is the same financing, just so you know, it's the same financing that you voted on for when you voted on the Hart District bonds, when you voted on the college bonds. It is the only financing available for public entities other than the parcel tax, which is a whole different thing.
Joan, just so that everybody gets a fair representation of what you're doing.
Sure.
Is it possible for you to provide for us information on how that payback and how the bond money allocation is going to be?
Be happy to.
Because I want everybody to see what the real
Sure.
story is.
And I know, that's what I just, so even though I can't be here at the meetings, I read your agendas and I watch your videos and I follow the minutes. So when I saw on the agenda, some misinformation about this bond, I was going to request from Ellen to speak at your next meeting, but I saw this that had come out and I thought, it's not. It needs some information. You need correct information, and so what I did tonight is quickly we brought some things. We're just getting started on the campaign, but we have some materials in the back. Would like you to have that. It has the actual ballot statement is in the back. That's a sheet like this, and so you can read exactly about that. We will be happy to provide financial statements as far as what that bond is going to do. Now, it's variable, meaning you don't know for sure, meaning two things you don't know. You don't know what the interest rate will be 20 years from now. No way to know, okay? But again, keep remembering that the maximum that current taxpayers can be assessed is $30 per 100,000 valuation. So that's not changing for the entire life of the loan, whether it was 30 years, 40 years, as someone said, 60 years, that will not change, okay? So that's all. It's a matter of how quickly can we get up to that. And that will be based a little bit on if property values increase, if there's new construction or others that come onto the market, that the assessment goes up. So
Well, Joan, I'll
let
let Bert ask a question here in a minute. I just want you to know that we want to provide good information. So if we said something that is incorrect, then we certainly would correct it, and that's why we're asking you to provide that information to us, because we want to pass on the real story, and I hope you understand that.
It was just, as you know, it was just a little tie line, and I just thought, I want to be there and share.
I have one question. I don't know how this works, so I'll ask. We have lots of areas within the unincorporated area that are going to annex into the city. If this bond measure were to pass again, or this new one pass, would those areas that annex in be required to pay into it also, or not?
Sure.
Yeah, actually,
I don't know if you need to get over here.
The bond measure has absolutely nothing to do with the city, has nothing to do with the unincorporated areas, because it has to do with the area of the Sulphur Springs School District, which includes portions of the city, but it includes a huge amount of territory that is unincorporated county. It doesn't matter if the property lies within our boundaries. That is what is on the property taxes that this goes to. It really makes no difference whether they're in the city or not in the city. County people pay. As long as they're within the territorial boundaries of the Sulphur Springs School District, those are the properties that are assessed and used to pay back the bond. Now, as new, we still have on the books within the next 5 or 6 years nearly 3,000 new units that are supposedly to be built, part of which are in the Fair Oaks Ranch area, which right now is county, but probably eventually will come back in. At the top, Skyline Ranch, which is at the top of the
Mystery
I don't know,
Mesa.
Pop it wherever you want to call it, the weird canyon over there south of Basshead Road. That's also got some property that's in there as well. There's a fairly large to-do on the other side of Stonecrest, where I live, that has, there's a valley in the Spring Canyon, and there's also some stuff in Tick Canyon that may or may not have been. But those are in county territory, but it doesn't matter if they're built within our boundaries, they will be part of the agreement. And that's how the property assessed valuation can go up, by new development and things that are coming into our area.
Yeah, we should really clarify. It's the Sulphur Springs School District area because, for instance, my current address, besides being Santa Clarita, is Newhall because I live over in Scenic Hills. And so there are a few areas that are, in quotes, Newhall, but yet they're still in the Sulphur Springs School District. So just wanted to correct that. Alan, thank you so much for the time.